Some guitarists just played the notes, others rewired your brain with a single riff, from setting guitars on fire to building entire genres from scratch. The 60s, 70s, and 80s were stacked with players who flipped rock on its head. In today's list, we're counting down from number 10 all the way to the one who blew the doors off the whole thing. So who made the cut and who claimed the top spot? Let's find out. On number 10 is Keith Richards. Keith Richards could be called the pulse of rock and roll. When that first riff of "I Can't Get No Satisfaction" hits, you don't just hear it, you feel it. That gritty, sharp sound, that's Keith doing what he does best, keeping it raw, keeping it real. He's not the guy ripping insane solos or doing flashy tricks on stage. Nah, Keith plays like he's having a dirty conversation with the guitar. Straightforward, a little sloppy, but full of attitude. And it works, every single time. What made his style so unique was his use of open G tuning. Sounds simple, but it gave the Stones their signature, punchy, bluesy swagger. Songs like "Start Me Up," "Brown Sugar," and "Jumpin' Jack Flash" don't move the way they do without that secret sauce. And yeah, people talk about Mick Jagger a lot. Fair, the guy's a showman, but in my unpopular opinion, Keith is the real engine of the band. On number 9 is Dwayne Alman. Dwayne Alman didn't talk much, but his guitar sure did. If Keith Richards gave rock its swagger, Dwayne gave it its soul. Co-founder of the Allman Brothers Band, he took slide guitar and turned it into something spiritual. That haunting intro on Whipping Post, that gentle sadness on Sweet Melissa, it was all him. He used a glass Coricidin bottle as a slide and somehow pulled out notes that felt like they came from the center of the earth, smooth, aching, full of feeling. But Dwayne wasn't just some blues guy in the corner. He mixed jazz, country, and southern storytelling into a new thing entirely, southern rock. It wasn't just about long jams, it was about telling a story, one note at a time. And don't forget that moment he played on Layla with Clapton. Two legends, one track, pure brilliance. He died at only 24, which still hurts to think about. But even in that short time, he carved out a legacy that guitarists today are still trying to touch. On number 8 is Richie Blackmore. You think Richie Blackmore was just playing loud guitar? Nah, he was composing rock symphonies with distortion turned all the way up. The man behind Deep Purple and later Rainbow, he took hard rock and injected it with something a little more regal. He didn't just shred fast. He played with structure, drama, and precision, like he was having a duel with the strings. "Smoke on the Water," everyone's tried it. It's like the national anthem of beginner guitarists, like Highway Star or Child in Time. That's where you see just how insane his range really was. He blended classical scales, especially the harmonic minor, with crunchy riffs, and created something fresh before anyone else thought to try. And Rainbow, that band walked so symphonic metal could run. Stargazer still sounds massive today, layered, theatrical, and miles ahead of its time. Blackmore didn't care about being a rock star. He hated the limelight, barely gave interviews, and avoided press like the plague. But when he played, it was all-out war between melody and chaos. On number 7 is Stevie Ray Vaughn. Stevie Ray Vaughn just kicked the door down and brought the blues back like it never left. The 80s were packed with hairspray and synth pop, but Stevie came out swinging with a Stratocaster, a wall of amps, and Texas thunder in his fingers. Pride and Joy, Texas Flood, Lenny. These weren't just songs, they were him, laying everything out there, raw and emotional, with no filters. He sounded like Hendrix, sure, but it wasn't a copy. Stevie took that sound and made it rougher, deeper, bluesier. His tone was thick and heavy, and those strings, he used gauge 13s, so thick most guitarists wouldn't even try them. But Stevie bent them like they were nothing. His solos were all about making people feel. That version of Voodoo Child he played, you don't just hear it, you remember it. and just when it felt like he was hitting his peak, he was gone. A helicopter crash in 1990 ended it all way too soon. On number 6 is David Gilmore. David Gilmore just had to bend a single note, hold it in the air, and let it bleed emotion. He wasn't the kind of guitarist to throw 10,000 notes at you in one breath. He picked the right ones, the ones that mattered. With Pink Floyd, he created entire landscapes, using nothing but delay, reverb, and that smooth Stratocaster tone that felt like warm water. His guitar always spoke. It cried. It told you things without saying a word. You hear it in Comfortably Numb. That solo just sticks. It's soft but heavy, calm but devastating. And it's not just that song. Shine on You, Crazy Diamond, Time, High Hopes. He paints with sound. You literally float while listening to his solos, and that creamy, spacey tone, that became the dream tone for guitarists who wanted to make people feel something instead of just flexing. On number 5 is Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi created a whole genre. Heavy metal wouldn't even exist without him. The story starts with a factory accident. He lost 2 fingertips on his fretting hand. Most people would have walked away, but Tony made his own prosthetics, tuned his guitar down to ease the pain, and in doing that, made rock music sound heavier than it ever had before. And that was the beginning of Black Sabbath. Dark, loud, and unlike anything anyone had heard. His riffs in Iron Man, War Pigs, and Paranoid didn't just shake speakers, they scared parents. They were doomy and evil and catchy all at the same time. He didn't just play guitar, it felt like he was summoning it. That down-tuned, grinding sound laid the foundation for everything from thrash to death metal to stoner rock. Bands like Metallica, Slayer, and even Slipknot, they all owe a piece of their DNA to Iommi, and yet he never lost the groove. His riffs always stayed, stuck with you. On number 4 is Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton tells real stories with his guitar, stories that sting a little. That's why people call him Slowhand, not because he's slow, but because his solos take their time. They breathe. They feel like someone letting their guard down right in front of you. Clapton made his name in every legendary band you can think of. The Yardbirds, John Mayall's Blues Breakers, Cream, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes. Every single one added another chapter to his sound. Layla might be the most famous heartbreak ever laid down on tape, and Crossroads. He tore that one wide open with fire and grit. Then, years later, he gives us Tears in Heaven, quiet, broken, personal. He didn't just play the blues, he helped carry it across the ocean, gave it new life, and introduced it to an entirely different crowd. British rock needed soul, and Clapton brought it. No gimmicks, no tricks, just perfect tone, clean phrasing, and emotion soaked into every bend. On number 3 is Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page wasn't just a guitarist, he was a builder. Every riff he wrote felt like it was carved from stone. When Led Zeppelin came on the scene, everything changed. Page had this way of stacking sounds, blues, hard rock, folk, Eastern vibes, and turning them into massive, layered songs that felt bigger than life. Whole Lotta Love, Black Dog, and Heartbreaker. Those weren't just hits, they were loud, riff-driven, gritty, and tight. And then there's Stairway to Heaven. That solo still stops time. He didn't just write a great song, he made a moment that refuses to fade, even 50 years later. Page also played with wild creativity in the studio. He used multiple guitar layers, reversed echoes, even a violin bow, to pull eerie sounds out of his strings. On stage, he brought drama, the double-neck guitar, the poses, the mystery. You never really knew what he'd do next. On number 2 is Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen exploded into the guitar world. One listen to Eruption, and you just knew Something had shifted. That wasn't just shredding, that was a whole new language. Eddie made two-hand tapping a signature move, turning his fretboard into a playground. He played so fast and so clean, but still made it sound fun, not robotic. There was joy in every solo, like the guitar was laughing right along with him. He was a builder too, literally. He made his own guitar, the Frankenstrat, because nothing on the market felt right. He was always tweaking stuff, amps, pickups, pedals, trying to squeeze out one more weird, awesome sound, and it worked. Songs like Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher are still full of that wild energy. He could melt your face off with a solo and still drop a melody that made you grin. In the 80s, everyone wanted to be Eddie. Most tried, most failed, because there was only one, Eddie Van Halen. Could you guess who's on number one? It's no other than Jimi Hendrix, the guy who set his guitar and music on fire. Jimi Hendrix rewired the whole system. The guy made his guitar talk, scream, and sometimes even cry. He played a right-handed Strat, flipped upside down, because, well, that's just what felt right to him. And from that wrong setup came some of the most iconic sounds in music history. Feedback, distortion, fuzz, he turned all of it into art. Purple Haze, Hey Joe, Voodoo Child, those weren't just songs, they were moments. Then came Woodstock. He plays the Star-Spangled Banner, full of bombs, sirens, and wailing notes. It felt more like a protest than a performance. It was Jimmy using his guitar as a voice for everything that couldn't be said out loud. Psychedelic, bluesy, soulful, messy, his sound had no rules and still, somehow, made perfect sense. He didn't chase fame, he chased feeling, and he caught it, over and over again. Decades later, no one's caught up. They've only tried. So, who's still ringing in your head? Jimi, Hendrix, or maybe Gilmore? Did we forget to mention your favorite? Drop it in the comments. We're always down to talk riffs and legends, and if you're into stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and keep the volume up.